Hello, I am Raphael Bob Waxberg, creator and executive producer of BoJack Horseman, and I'm here with Amy Sedaris.
Hi, Raph. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
What do your friends call you?
My friends call me Raphael.
Raphael.
But
Okay.
They call me Raphael. Yeah. Some people call me Raph, but I've never asked for that nickname, but it does sometimes follow me. I had a friend in middle school, because my initials are RBW, who used to call me Rub Dub, which I thought was pretty clever.
Rub Dub.
But it didn't take. It never
Okay.
stuck. Did you have any nicknames?
Just like, shorty, people, things like that. Because I'm short. Again, nothing that really stuck. But I love giving people nicknames.
Oh, do you? What
Yeah.
are your proudest nicknames that you've given somebody else?
I can't say them anymore with the #2 movement.
Oh, they're quite inappropriate.
You too. I can't say them anymore.
Yeah,
Gone.
yeah. Hashtag you too.
Yeah, you too.
Sunday Bloody Sunday, indeed, for nicknames. So I am talking to you now as I normally talk to you, which is over the phone. We're recording this. I'm in Los Angeles, and you are in New York. Is that correct? Will you confirm
Yes.
that?
That's correct. I wonder if we'll ever meet face to face.
I was thinking the same thing. So I think a lot of fans are surprised to hear when I tell them that we have never met in person.
I know, isn't that great?
Right? Never. But we've talked many times on the phone, although
Yes.
mostly work-related talks on the phone. We
Always.
chit-chat occasionally before
Right.
sessions. Always a little bit of chit-chat.
When you
But
win awards.
When I win awards, I let you know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious, do you know what I look like? Have you seen pictures of me?
I have not.
Or do you have no idea?
I have no idea.
Really?
No.
Do you have a picture of me in your head? What do you imagine I look like?
Imagine you have brunette hair and that you're
Okay.
medium frame. Like you're not too skinny, but you're not, you're like perfectly, like
Okay.
you don't have extra weight on or anything like that for some reason.
Oh, all right.
I don't know. Am I close?
I think that is a fair. Yeah, that's you got all that from my voice, huh?
Yeah. Oh, really?
I have a real brown-haired voice.
They just pulled a picture up of you. Okay,
What?
that's it. Yeah.
Oh no!
Yeah,
the
it's
mystery has been
adorable.
spoiled.
Yeah.
Is that's what you were picturing?
I didn't know
thank-
your
thank
nose
you.
was
Or
huge.
A
Yeah.
doorbell.
A doorbell.
Yes, they call me Big Nose.
But when I hear you when we do the when we do the read-throughs, you're so good at filling in for like Will.
Yeah.
For everybody. I mean, you're so good with your voice. That,
Right.
Like, yeah, it's funny.
Because we
though.
record we record the actors one at a time, right? So we'll do
Yeah.
when we record a few, I'll play all the other characters,
Right.
And you'll just obviously play Princess Carolyn, or occasionally you'll do other small stuff here and there, but mostly
Right.
just Princess Carolyn.
Yeah.
How do you remember how this show came to you?
I do. I just remember Will and I have
Like what the offer was?
No,
or-
I just remember Will Arnett and I always saying, "Oh, let's do something together sometime." And then he, if I remember correctly, he just said,
Yeah.
"Hey, will you come and read this with me?" And I thought I was just going in to read something
Mm-hmm.
with him. I didn't know it was for something really. And so I just remember that being the first time.
and then he wasn't even there.
He was there.
Or
No,
was
he
it with
was in
him,
a
the first
booth.
recording?
Yeah, somewhere
Oh, he
in
was,
New York,
okay.
and he was recording, and I was across from him, and I just did that voice, and he was doing this, and then it turned into this show. They're like, "Do you want to do it?" I was like, "Oh my God, yeah!" And then they sent me pictures of what Princess Carolyn
Yeah.
was going to look like, and I was like, "Oh, I didn't know
So
she was pink."
you saw pictures of Princess Carolyn before you saw pictures of me.
Yes.
So yeah, what is your because the voice you do for Princess Carolyn is not your actual voice. It's
No.
close, but you have like a persona that you put on.
Yes.
And I know you've talked about that this is like a shtick you've done before. Where does this voice come from for you, or what do you when you were first thinking about this character? Like, what was your approach?
Well, it was a voice I was working on for a while. It was a little bit of Barbara Streisand, a little bit of Helen Ann Lally, this woman who ran a post office in my neighborhood, and just kind of practical. And I just thought, I feel better, more comfortable doing voices, and she seems like it's kind of agony, So I just kind of did like this, and it just seemed to fit
Yeah.
for me.
Has the voice evolved at all as we've done the show? Like, have you thought about the character in new ways, or is she still basically the same
It's
kind of? when
basically
you go
the
into booth?
same. It's just when I had to get if she has to get sentimental. or feelings, as you say, come into play, then I just have to take that voice another place. But no, or when, in one episode, which I don't want to give any spoiler alerts, when I had to be a younger version of myself, or to put on, like when I lived in the South. So it was like putting layers onto a voice, which is always difficult, but also a lot of fun. Because I love this character. A lot of people like Princess Carolyn. I get a lot of fun art from people and comments and people who can relate to her.
She's a fan favorite.
She's a fan favorite, and I just really like her. I can relate to her.
What do you think appeals to people about her? What do you relate to about her?
That she seems really human, that she does have a lot of emotions, that she does really care. The whole thing, I don't know what I can say and not say, but the things that she wants, a lot of women want. She's juggling a career,
right.
Her home life and the involvement with BoJack and pulling away from that. And I'd say that with every character, really. It's that's why people like the show so much.
Yeah, and here's your old friend Stephen Colbert.
Oh, I didn't know Stephen Colbert did a voice.
Yeah, he did.
What did he do a voice for? I didn't know that.
He just played that big frog. That big frog that just walked off screen. He'll come back. We'll listen. I was really excited to make this episode a bit of a Stephen and Amy reunion. Although you were never in the same room together and you didn't even know about it.
I had no idea. Had no idea.
Yeah, he was great. He's very funny. He did a very funny voice.
Yeah, he is.
He played Mr. Witherspoon. The boss.
Great. Yeah, I must have seen it when I watched it.
And you go way back with him. How did you first meet him? Do you remember?
Second City. Paul Dinello
or Second City?
Paul Dinello and Stephen Colbert and I all met at Second City. That's where we met. And then we performed together, toured together.
And when did you become like the three of you?
At Second City.
Like during those days.
At Second City, doing main stage shows and touring. And then we did X57 together and Strangers with Candy together.
Right.
And we're still friends.
Oh, good. Yeah. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
I would hope so.
Don't tell him
I'd be very disappointed if I go, no, I haven't spoken to him in your... I would never. Your secret's safe with me.
Stephen who? Right.
So this episode was a big one for Princess Carolyn. And I remember at the time, it was a bit of a format break for us because all of our episodes we'd done so far were really heavy BoJack A stories. And this was the first episode where we kind of, pushed him to the side a little bit and had, Princess Carolyn is really the star of this episode. And we ended up doing that more and more in future seasons with other characters. But I remember it was risky at the time. Like people were nervous about it, which I don't understand because, TV shows do that all the time. They'll just like focus on a different character. But I think there was some trepidation about having an episode that BoJack wasn't in as much. And so there was a lot of rewriting this and trying to make it feel like BoJack was around more, even though it was really about Princess Carolyn. So you'll see there's a part that happens later where BoJack brings in like a cardboard cutout of himself and he leaves it in Princess Carolyn's office. And the reason we did that is because we wanted it to feel like BoJack was in the episode more, even when he wasn't there. We thought if we just like put a picture if we just put this picture of BoJack in the office and left it there, that the people giving us that note would see, oh yeah, there's plenty of BoJack here, or the audience at home would feel like, oh yeah, a typical BoJack episode.
That's really funny.
But I think it's funny because there's been a couple times where we've tried to like focus on a smaller character or like kind of deal with the emotionality of something that hasn't been explored yet, right? Like at this point in the series, Princess Carolyn was a very joke-based character, and this is the first time we do get to like see a little bit of her inner life. And, one of the questions I feel like we always get when we pitch a story like that is, do audiences care about this character, or are audiences going to care because we haven't, seen this emotionality yet? And my response is always like, well, they will care when we do this episode. Like this episode is the thing that's going to make them care. Like prior to this, I don't know if people would have thought, oh yeah, I'm going to be really invested in a Princess Carolyn story. But I think you have to kind of do the work and take the leap. Yeah. And trust that your audience will follow you there. You know what I mean?
And the highest ratings you had for any other episode, right?
This is the highest rated
highest
episode.
rated.
Netflix doesn't work that way traditionally.
Oh.
But they told us for this one. They said, yeah, everybody, when everyone heard that the 7th episode of season 1 was going to be Princess Carolyn, that's when people tuned in just for that.
Off the charts. Yep.
Off the charts ratings.
Off
the highest
charts
ratings of your
ratings.
career, I've heard.
There you go.
This is also an episode where we this is our first, I think, like emotional ending of the series. It kind of has like a sad end to it. And I think this is kind of perfect, exactly. And I think this is kind of I think this episode is a big stepping stone for what the show turned out to be. That I feel like the first 6 episodes are kind of like us, playing in the sandbox and finding our way through and figuring out what the show is going to be. And I feel like this episode is in some ways like the first one that really kind of represents the kind of show that I wanted to be making. You know what I mean?
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm. That's fun when that happens, when you're working on a series like this and you're finding it as you go along. And then you're like, oh my God, this is it.
Yeah.
This is what I want it to be. I love that feeling.
Do you remember being surprised by the emotion in the show? I mean, I assume you weren't told that when you first signed on, that it was going to go to these places.
No, I was surprised, and I was happy that it was going there. That's what made it so different than other animated shows like this. That's why I think it works. It's like an emotional. It's like a soap opera.
Yeah. Oh, so here's Colbert if you want to listen. For a
let
second.
me hear his voice.
And who gets fired, but in the meantime, help yourself to an intern, one of the rising stars at our company, Charlie Witherspoon.
And here's me,
Yeah.
Charlie Witherspoon.
Oh, right.
Oh God, am I blowing this? And I was actually really delighted.
Oh, that's great.
Thank you. I was very delighted to see what a good dramatic actress you are, because I have not seen that from you.
You
I mean,
had to pull it out of me, though. You always had to pull it out of me, and I always felt bad because half the word. I mean, I'm not really good at like pronouncing a lot of words, or I'm like, I can't say this, and sometimes I'd even say Princess Carolyn. You say it's Caroline. We had those. I'm like, so
no,
bad.
opposite. You'd say Princess
Opposite,
Caroline, and
right,
it's Princess
yeah,
Carolyn.
Exactly. But I remember thinking, oh God, But no, that's because you're such a good director, and you're so good at, like, if I'd say give me a line reading,
stop.
you're never shy about it. So I give you 100% credit.
Sounds like a backhanded compliment.
No, it's not at all.
The director who's really good at giving line readings.
I love that. I do. I ask all the time. I'm like, how would you say it? Or what are you going for here? I'm like, oh, great. Now I got it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just have to hear somebody else do it and be like, oh.
Do you aspire to do more dramatic stuff? Is that something you would like to explore more in your career?
No, I enjoy watching dramatic things, and I like actors who can do it, and I admire them. But I just feel like a phony when I do it. I just don't feel like it's my strength.
I don't know about that. I think you're quite good at it. I mean, also, as an audience, though, isn't it like the most exciting thing when you see a comedic actor take like a real dramatic turn that works?
Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah. I just don't know if that's
great, right? I mean, when it doesn't work, it's embarrassing for everybody.
Yeah, I know. No, that would be me.
No?
It's just not something I want to. It's not enjoyable for me. But it's enjoyable for me to watch other people do it.
And then another thing we do a lot on this show that you were alluding to earlier is the tongue twisters we make you do.
Oh my God.
And there's not as many of them in the first season, but they kept adding season after season.
I know.
And you're very...
Of all people to give them to, me.
I know. I think they're difficult for you, but you're actually very good at them. Like, once you get them, it takes a couple takes, but then I think there's a real melody to your voice that makes them, I think, sometimes funnier than some of the other characters we've had do them. So it's always a pleasure in the writer's room. We come up with more tongue twisters for Princess Carolyn, even though I know, Amy's going to be mad about this one.
Here we go. But how many have you reached out? Is there anybody that you reached out to ask to see if they could do something on the show that they couldn't do it? Like anybody you really wanted but couldn't?
Oh yeah.
Oh, lots of people.
Oh, definitely. I mean, this actually relates to this episode. There's a great example. Because all the time we reach out to people. This is Kristen Chenoweth is amazing. But all the time we reach out to people and they don't do it. So this episode is called "Say Anything," and Princess Carolyn's favorite movie is Jerry Maguire, and the whole episode was constructed as a little bit of like a tribute to Cameron Crowe. And the writer of this episode, Joe Lawson, is a huge Cameron Crowe fan. And there's a cameo later where we tried to get Cameron Crowe to play himself, and there's a famous story where in Jerry Maguire, Cameron Crowe really wanted his hero and idol Billy Wilder to cameo in Jerry Maguire, and he begged Billy Wilder to do it, and Billy Wilder said, "No, I'm too old, I'm too tired, I'm busy, I don't want to do it." So when we were doing this episode, I thought, oh, this is perfect. Joe, you should write Cameron Crowe a letter about how he's your hero and how much you love him, and then how we want him to cameo on the show. And then because he obviously remember how he felt when his hero turned him down, of course he'll say yes. Of course he'll want to do the show. So Joe wrote this like very sincere letter, and we sent it to him. And we heard back that he was too busy.
Oh.
And he didn't want to do it.
Oh, they're all that.
So we ended up getting Kevin Bigley played the part. After all that, he was busy editing Aloha.
Oh my God.
So that he could have just come in. You know how long it takes?
Yeah.
It takes like 20 minutes.
Right.
He could have done it easy.
Yeah.
But now I'm worried that telling that story, you know, and I've said like, oh, Cameron Crowe, even though he wouldn't be there for his hero, even though his hero couldn't be there for him, but then when he was the hero, he wouldn't be there. I feel like someone's going to listen to this and then write me a letter and be like, hey, Raphael, will you be in my thing?
Oh, right.
You're my hero. And I'm going to be like, no, I don't want to.
I don't think so.
So I understand how it gets paid forward.
But you got, you know, when we do the read-throughs, I'm in New York on my couch, and then I have the first 10 minutes of our recording, I hear all of you catching up and laughing, you know, gathering around the table, all that stuff. And then we get started, but it's you guys, I mean, to me, it's like everyone's so good with their voices. Like you've got a room in LA full of people who are just so good.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so impressed with people who know all the tricks, you know, like if you just, like you have to even breathe. You know,
do you think you don't know all the tricks?
When I learn a trick, no, every time I learn something new, I realize what I don't know. But I like, you know, like how to inhale and exhale.
So what are some tricks?
Like, you know, you breathe in and then you breathe out. It's like, instead of going, huh, you might go,
well, hold on.
I don't know, like,
oh, okay.
like little tricks like that I've heard. Or,
yes, inhaling and exhaling is a
Yes.
trick I've learned pretty early. But
I love that stuff. Or like for me,
what else? What are some other
like for me? I move around a lot. Like I need a lot of room. Like I'm a pretty physical person, and for me with animation, then when I watch the episode, I'm like, oh well, why didn't you tell me there was a treadmill there? I don't know. Like what I would have said something about it, or I tend not to improvise as much when I do animated thing. You know, when I have to just lend my voice to something, I feel like I'm gonna stick to the script unless you know you say something and then I'll just repeat you. But I don't feel as free to improvise because I don't really know where I am in the room. Is all. So it's just a different mindset.
Right. Well, part of it too is it's because you're by yourself. You don't have another person to improvise off of. Like
True.
you could say something, but since we might have already recorded Will that day, and so it's like, well, we can't change the scene because he can't react to that.
Yeah. Right.
What are other good voice actor tricks that you've picked up on?
Well, another thing is like I had the voice, like coming up with a voice for Princess Carolyn in my head, you know, walking around, it would get the character description. But then when you get a picture of the character, you're like, oh, she's pink.
Uh-huh.
Well, and then I'm thinking, well, how's that
How does that change your impression of the character?
I don't know, but then I'm like, oh, I judged her differently. Oh, she's going to wear, she's got that kind of body. Or, you know, I'm like, you know, or like, you know, like someone from The Simpsons, they have really high hair. And you're just like, oh, yeah, is that going to change it? Or is it better that you don't know that anyway? But I don't know.
not like he makes this company.
Frog.
He does seem to take up an awful lot of your time.
There's cardboard cutout BoJack making his presence felt.
Did you and Will know each other before this?
No. He just, same as you. He just got the script and got the offer, and liked it. No, I didn't. I didn't know any of these people.
Interesting. Yeah.
I knew. Actually, the writer of this episode, Joe Lawson, I knew before. We'd worked together on something else, but most of the people, no. We just hired people and went. And then Lisa Hannawalt, who designed the characters, I'm old friends with.
Oh, okay.
But all the actors I'd never met.
Yeah, she did.
Other than myself, who acted in this episode.
Yeah, she did a great job, Lisa.
Oh yeah, she's brilliant.
Yeah, a really good job. I mean, you must be happy. I mean, this is a hit.
Especially this episode, the highest rated episode of the series.
A highest rated episode. 100 phone calls later.
You'll never work with BoJack again? What's that? You want him to die in an ass factory warehouse fire, smothering to death under a pile of burning asses? Well, if you change your mind... That actually, hearing that line made me think of another good actor tip.
What's that?
Which is that I feel like one thing that I sometimes tell people in direction is to get to the end of the sentence. I feel like here's Cameron Crowe played by Kevin Bigley, but I feel like a lot of like beginner actors, like in college, there's a lot of like scenery chewing and like, okay, I'm gonna say the line, but I'm going to add some pauses to give it like dramatic effect. And like more and more often, I think especially because our show is so tightly scripted and we have like a lot to get through, I just need people to, get to the end of the sentence. And oftentimes I feel like, professional voice actors like yourself, like know how to do that, know, how to give that variety to the line without sacrificing the trajectory of the line. You know what I mean?
Well, usually I get the note to slow down, always. So sometimes when I get a note when I'm doing a voiceover...
Do I give you that note?
No, in all the ways, slow down. But, it's fun to do...
Everybody else.
Now I'm like, could you pick it up? I'm like, oh, yeah, I can always pick it up. Because I talk fast and I think fast. So I'm like, oh, yeah, no problem. Picking up is not an issue. I mean, yeah. Can do that. It's slowing down that's hard for me sometimes.
No, I love that. I on this show, no one ever slows down. It's always about like, we got a lot of lines we got to cram in. There was another episode we have. Maybe I say this in the commentary for that episode, but we had Phil Lamar came in, and he played a sloth lawyer. Where kind of the joke is he talks very slowly, but he's such a pro. And I told him, okay, we need you to like act like it's a slow talker, but because of this episode, we need to keep up the pace. So can you like not talk slow, but make it sound like you're talking slow? And he was somehow able to do that, which I was really impressed by, to make it sound like he's talking slowly, but actually he's not talking that slowly. It's a real skill.
Oh, yeah. See, that's a note I would have to get the night before. I'd be like, what? Okay.
You'd have to work all night on that.
Yeah, I'd have to think about that. Like, yeah.
And you do not enjoy coming to LA, is that correct? I assume that's one of the reasons I've never met you.
I don't go there that much, and when I'm there, I'm usually the plane lands and I'm working the whole time, and then I get out of there. I don't really go and kill time there, and that's the only reason. But I'm always like.
But I would imagine you have a lot of friends in LA from your work that you would want to visit, but no, they'll come visit you. I gotta go.
Yeah, no, I don't know. Usually, I'm not there long enough to visit. I'm there, just working, and then I'm out of there. But yeah, I mean, I do know a lot of people there. I don't drive, and that the trip there is endless to me. I go kicking and screaming.
Yes.
It's just a long flight. It's one thing to go. You wake up and you're in Tokyo, but I mean, it's not. It's like LA. You're like, oh,
just to get to LA. Yeah, why?
I don't know. But I mean, but then I like it more and more every time I go. To tell you the truth. But I can't believe I haven't been to a table read.
Yeah, it would be fun to have you there.
Yeah.
And listen to this sad song playing.
I know.
Because this is a sad episode.
It's a sad, great. Turn it up.
Poor Princess Carolyn.
Poor Princess Carolyn. Well.
She'll be okay, though. She'll be fine.
Oh, yeah, for sure. She's got 9 lives.
Exactly. She's got 9 lives.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I guess I'll be talking to you next week.
Yes, we'll talk
right?
soon. Of course.
We'll talk soon.
We'll
But
talk
thanks
soon.
for doing this
but
with me.
but the audience won't hear us talk. That talk will be just for us.
All right. Bye.
Boxer versus Raptor. No, no, no,